Hello. Happy Independence Day, everyone. How is everyone doing this Tuesday? Consi counseling in Atlassian. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me? Hello, hello, hello. Mic testing 1, 2, 3. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me and if you guys can see me. Oh, alrighty. I'm in Delhi again and will probably be here in Delhi for a while. Not for a while, for like 2 more weeks. And if you're in the cohort, then the meetup is happening in Noida on Sunday, so that'll be great. Cool. Let's wait for a few more people to join, then we will start. This session is about 2 things, mostly about how to start to code. So today I'm going to write the first code that I wrote back in college while I take these questions that you guys post. So there will be 2 things. I'll basically try to multitask as much as I can. I will code this first physics wala project that I did in college while I take questions. So for me, it will be a multitasking challenge. For you, it will be an opportunity to ask questions, and then for people who are complete beginners to coding, it will be hopefully the first step to coding and learning how you should start to code. What was the first program that I wrote that taught me how to code and hopefully teaches you or at least pushes you in that direction. Overall idea here is, so I am learning AI recently and वो इतना difficult सा हो गया मेरे लिए. I'm back at like square one when I started to code कि हाँ, don't have motivation. One day suddenly have a lot of motivation. So that 0 to 1 journey since I'm taking there. For people who are doing the same in coding, I just wanted to share कि मैं AI में कैसे कर रहा हूँ. आप coding में ऐसे कर सकते हो if you want, but mostly just chatting and then some promotions जो तो हम अब करने लगे हैं. हम sales वाले इंसान हैं, तो maybe a few promotions here and there which hopefully you don't mind. मेरी खुद की, किसी और की नहीं. And बाकी coding and answering questions. Cool. Let me pop out chat here. All right. How do you pop out chat? Pop out chat. Cool. Around 300 people. I think that's a good number. Let's get right into it. Oh wow, I have a decent layout. So hi everyone, welcome to a random Tuesday evening live. Today we're doing 2 things. We are coding a little bit for people who've never learned to code or like haven't coded before. For people who have already coded, feel free to ignore what I'm doing and feel free to ask questions. My goal is going to be looking at chat and trying to code on the side. If you want to start coding, you can as well. What I am coding is a simple Flappy Bird game that I did back in college, which is like should be less than 100 lines of code. I think I could totally be wrong. So learning a little bit of JavaScript, little bit of HTML in the process, and more than that, so this was my first sort of thing that I coded because of my love for physics. So wanted to, if other people, JE folks, understand physics, that transition from physics to coding that I made, hopefully this video takes you through that. That's the goal. And other than that, taking questions. So the high level agenda is, these are all the prompts. I'm going to follow the prompts that are written here just like an AI and code, and hopefully by the end of it I'm able to complete this very basic Flappy Bird game. This is what I'm writing, this is what you should write so that you actually begin to code. Alrighty, chalo. Looking at questions and साथ में coding. First question, how much time does it take to learn code? It's different for everyone. For me, it was 6 months of procrastinating, which is my first semester, and then finally joining a coding group, coding community, and realizing that this is something I like, this is something I want to do. And the initial motivations were mostly I need to make some money. Everyone in college, all good seniors in college make money via coding, so I need to do that. Plus I had a computer science degree. Everyone is different that way. So I do feel it's one very big period of procrastination, and then your journey actually begins. When your journey begins, it's just a continuous process of learning. So it can feel like I've been coding for a year, but if you have like humps like this, right, then you actually haven't started to code. The day you're consistent is when you're actually coding. Cool. Answer to the first question, done with the first prompt. Second one. I know C++ and I want to get into Web3. What should I learn more C++, jump directly into Web3? So Web3 also has a lot of low level code is written in C. For example, if you go through Solana, and like Solana contracts can either be written in Rust or be written in C, not C++, but C. And if you've heard of HFT firms, a lot of finance firms, they also require C very heavily, like low level C programming. So it's not the worst thing in the world to know that. Jumping into Web3 basically means just changing the domain you're working on, but I'd still suggest if you C++ mein achhe ho, then maybe learn low level C before you start diving into these high level languages like JavaScript, because you can always go from C, C++ to JavaScript, but like going from JavaScript to C++ is the hard journey. So that is what I would suggest. Alrighty, next question. Kind of sad that we're still coding on Independence Day. Arey, kya ho gaya? What's the problem? You don't code, I will code. It's just I wouldn't. This is something I do anyways. So Maki, also I'm of course very thankful for the country and celebrating, saw the parade, all that jazz. So let's not feel bad about coding. To each their own. Can AI code, and if yes, why do we need human coders? Great question. So can AI code is the first question. I'm sure if I copy this, paste it in ChatGPT, it will spit out the thing for me. But I think that's true for all, wouldn't call it software, but like all jobs that can be automated by AI. What cannot? Anything that requires manual effort won't be replaced by AI, or definitely cannot. For example, I don't know, a shopkeeper, but then shopkeepers can be replaced by robots, arguably, and like robots have been here for a while. So I don't know the answer to this. It is totally possible. It is totally not possible. I hope it doesn't happen. If it happens, I'm sure you can become an AI engineer, sit on top of the AI. In the future, will AI become our masters? Maybe. So wo questions ka koi ant nahi hai. I don't think there's too much time focusing on that, but I don't think you should spend too much time focusing on that, but that is a valid concern for people who are just starting out. So if you're just starting out, then yeah, I agree. You shouldn't, you should think a little whether this field will grow or narrow down, which even I don't have the answer for. I think there will be always extremely highly paid people here, but will the average lot still make money? I don't know. Earlier they used to. Alrighty. Next question. I have 2 years of gap. Would it be possible to work in the tech field? So I think the gap isn't the problem. No one cares. But like if you generally have a gap, depends on what kind of a gap it is. If it's just you have a general gap in your resume, that's fine if you've been coding for a really long time and you're still sort of coding. But if you have a gap that you have not coded in for 2 years, then you're very rusted. So that is what will create a problem. But like a resume gap, no one cares about. No one really asks that question. In remote jobs, totally possible ki haan, other places people do. So I won't speak for FAANG and other companies, but remote jobs or generally like open source companies, they don't care. Oopsie daisy, sorry about that. Delhi meetup is happening on Sunday, but the number of people who have registered in the course is almost 150-ish, so it might just be restricted to the course people. Bangalore, what ended up happening was it was originally meant for course people only. Only 40 people said they'd be coming, but eventually I think 100 people from the course came. So, and the whole like the place filled with like 150 people, and a lot of course people weren't able to make it in. So just to be fair to them, this one's only restricted to the people in the cohort, because a lot of people come, and then the venue isn't cannot handle more than 100, 150 people. So yeah, let's see. Independence Day to you, sir, as well. I'm in college dropout, cannot go outside hometown to do job. Interested in AI. Will it be a wise decision to go for AI? Yeah, I mean, so all these are wise decisions. The question really is, are you good at them, and like how good you are at that certain technology? You could be really good at full stack development, and your life would be sorted. You could be really bad at AI, and your life won't be sorted. So it really depends on how good you are in that specific technology, and then pick and choose based on what you like versus where the hype is. Always catch up to the hype later on when you're like an advanced coder, or when you've done well in one technology. Don't say chase the hype. It would be my advice. Alrighty. Plus time interval into velocity. No. All right. Next question. I'm a 26-year-old mechanical engineer, but currently jobless from 1.5 years, looking for my coding job. What would you suggest me? So all people asking questions in this direction, the answer is fairly simple. The journey is really hard. The answer is simple. The answer is if you want to get into tech, then start to learn how to code. And there are, what is that? Like, what is the starting point? Starting point is just the thing that I'm doing on the screen. This was my first program that took me over the edge. इससे पहले I did college वाली programming. I did whatever कि OS पढ़ा रहे हैं, DBMS पढ़ा रहे हैं, but until I practically coded, ना मेरा interest बना, neither did I jump over that hoop of अब मुझे कोडिंग करने में मजा आ रहा है versus कि I'm doing it for my college examination. So the idea is to just write a lot of projects, and the simplest language there is either Python or JavaScript, which is why I'm writing this specific program in JavaScript. These are the prompts to write it. If you paste it in ChatGPT, you can ask it a bunch of things to teach you as a tutor if you're like that low level right now. But if little bit you've coded, then you should try to code this yourself in JavaScript. Alrighty. So that's the first step. Once you get beyond the first step, which is build a lot of projects, is when you can decide what's the second step in that. Then that's another question. But like for people who've never coded and like coding mein kuch nahi, so then JavaScript you should do. I'm very soon trying to do like a 30-day JavaScript challenge. Like every day do a JavaScript question, or call it assignment, like a very mini 10-minute assignment. So you get regular at solving JS. So that would be my advice for beginners. How to be good at Web3? The best thing about Web3 is right now it's like the bear market. So no one's really too interested in well, people are building businesses, but there's not a lot of what's the right word, people in the market to like buy products. So this is the best time to learn. And how do you learn is, so one series I'm putting out, which I feel, so that's the way I learned Web3. That's what I'm putting out on YouTube in 4 videos. If you don't want that, that's a little difficult for me, you want to take a different route. So step 1 is that only you try to go through YouTube and find some tutorials on Solidity, EVM, focus on one thing, most probably EVM only, and then try to learn Solidity end to end pehle. That is step 1. I'm trying to avoid talking about step 2s today because फिर journey to step 1 तो करो पहले, then we can talk about step 2. But like step 2 from there is कि you start learning about front ends, how they talk with the blockchain, go deeper into what an Ethereum transaction looks like, and then from there move on to like other blockchains. So this will all coming on my channel, I think in the next 2 months. So you can look at that, or you can look at some other tutorial, and then Udemy is always there to throw some money and see कि चलो थोड़ा you will get accountability as well on a Udemy course, and they have a lot of content, so a lot of things at the right, like a single place. Udemy is like the good resource for that. So just start doing if you want to learn Web3. And the good thing is that this time there's no competition, there's not a lot of jobs in the market as well. So not a lot of people are doing it. So when the bull comes, you can be one of the few good Solidity engineers from India, for example. Cool hai? Alright, let me just code a little bit more. All right, next question. Harkiyat, is CSS is too hard. How to get better? So how is this tell me if this CSS is hard. Div style equal to whatever, background red. Now this CSS isn't hard, right? Setting background color for a div is fairly simple. But what is hard is like as you get deeper and deeper into it, there's no end to how much CSS you can learn. In my cohort as well, we did not do coding like CSS more than this, which is not to say that this is bad, like you should know this wala CSS, but like this is like something that happens very quickly. What really matters, I think, is there are a lot of abstractions that have come out, like MUI, Tailwind, and you become like an expert Tailwind engineer, let's say, versus I'm very good at CSS, because unless you're working in Tailwind or MUI where you need to know CSS, if you're working in an end user application, you don't need to know a lot of CSS. So that would be my high level advice. Okay, don't go too deep into it. JavaScript, go as deep as you want, but CSS and HTML you don't have to. Alrighty. I'm an active programmer, 10th grade as well versed in C++, Java, and I'm C#. Okay. How do I proceed in your footsteps? So everyone's journey is different. You don't need to proceed in my footsteps, and you're way ahead of me in I did not know any of these things when I was in college. So sorry, in school in 10th grade, I was doing like physics, chemistry, maths. So you're already way ahead of a lot of people, including me. I don't think I'm the right person to advise you, but if I had to advise you, okay, if you know all of these things, maybe go deeper into one versus knowing so many things together. That would be my only advice. Alrighty. Moving on. Do you get bored of coding same thing again and again? Yeah, I don't do code the same thing again and again. I always move to new technologies. Thankfully, I've been in companies where, you know, every company has a new stack, something special I'm doing there. I would definitely get bored of the same thing. But thankfully, that's not been the case for me. Okay, whenever I've worked at a company, they've been kind enough to they've ask कि हाँ Harkirat, do you like doing this, and that always happens in good companies. Okay, every few weeks, every few months we have a check-in. Okay, how are you doing? Technically, are you growing? For all these good companies, they sort of know okay, people are motivated by not by money, but by, you know, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, how much they're learning. So for that reason, you will see in a bunch of these companies, you have a lot of these discussions with your managers. Are you feeling solid? Are you feeling good? And then based on that, your trajectory changes. I worked in very pure full stack shuru mein, then moved deep into front end, then moved deep into WebRTC, then deep into Web3. So if you keep changing, so that's where what differentiates a good from a very good engineer. I think very good engineers are like, after a point they're so bored, okay, they're like, nah, I want to do something new now. So yeah, if you're in the right company, you'll be fine. If you're not in the right company, then leave. But thankfully, I've seen most remote companies, good companies, are like fairly, they're pretty good. So yeah, 4x ka sawal aa gaya. Let's see. If I buy the course right now, will I be eligible for second cohort? What do you mean by eligible? You can still buy the second cohort, but you still have to pay for the second cohort, if that's your question. I think that is your question. Let's see. Sorry. Can I get a web developer job or React Native job without a degree? So again, the answer is the same, which is degrees really don't matter when it comes to remote jobs. Conventional jobs, they do end up mattering. So it really depends on where you're applying and whether it's a very conventional company, because conventional companies have very conventional hiring practices. So they'll put like, criteria is there. Okay, only XYZ people who have a bachelor's degree or whatever are allowed, and maybe even computer science. So depends on the kind of company you're working for. But remote jobs, may know degree doesn't matter. How much experience you have. If you have a gap, all these things don't really matter. So that's the good thing about these remote companies. Alrighty, very hard to multitask. One thing I'm learning today. What should be the price of the second cohort? Slightly more than this one, not too heavy, but like just because the course is like so ended up being so long, recurring costs sort of ended up going up. So just because of that, it will be a little bit more, but like not too crazy expensive. What am I? I think I know what I'm missing finally. Okay. Is full stack enough to get your first 100K offer, or do I need to make more projects after the course? So first thing is, like, if you've never had that remote offer, right, don't chase 100K. Even be happy with 70K, 80K, a little bit like that. Eventually you can transition to that number. So I also started like 60K, then 80K, then 100K. वो बहुत जल्दी पहुंच जाता है if you're a good engineer. Don't be very restricted on that number. That said, it is definitely possible. वही है कि bear और bull में थोड़ा depend करता है. But like if you're less than 100K and if you're a really good software engineer, then it's a good deal for everyone. So even in this market, so it doesn't really matter if it is a good market or a bad market. If you are a solid engineer and you're expecting solid full stack engineer and you're expecting less than 100K, which let's say 60K you're expecting, then yes, I think you should be fine. But again, there's like a lot of things here. Okay, you should be really good. One, number two, I wouldn't call it luck, but हाँ थोड़ा it may depend कर जाता है कि where you are, whether you found that right company, who reached there first. तो थोड़ा जो information arbitrage है वो. But other than that, yeah, it is possible, but like for whom and by how much is the question. All right. Someone is doing full stack. Why do we know we are ready? Someone doing full stack. What do we know we are? Sorry, could you repeat that question? I've done app development using Flutter. I'm interested in Web3 and AI. I also want to learn web development. Okay, a bunch of these things. Confused. So yeah, the answer, very big, actionable answer here is start with one initially, and then slowly you can move to the other. Get really good at one technology before you dive into 10 is what I would think. And उसमें upfront decide कि हाँ I want to do AI, अब मैं AI करूँगा. तो एक चीज़ में deep चले जाओ. ये मैंने बहुत लोगों के साथ देखे, मतलब कि I started contributing, but then वहाँ नहीं हो रहा. So it gives you like a very false sense of कि नहीं full stack नहीं, मैं तो AI के लिए बना हुआ, and you move there. Then AI नहीं, मैं तो Web3 के लिए बना हुआ, I move there. So you keep hopping around, and उससे much better है कि you go very deep in one thing. That's just it's very easy to be mediocre at these, all of these. कि हाँ, be mediocre at AI, be mediocre at Web3, be mediocre at full stack. It's very difficult to be really good at one. That is what I would suggest you do initially. Eventually, pick and choose कि तुम्हें क्या करना है, क्या नहीं है, do whatever you want. But initially, थोड़ा सा be very cautious around getting into that trap of कि oh नहीं, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then not doing anything. All right, cool. Let's see. I've done, sorry, that's done. Anyone going through tier 3 this year? Oh, sorry, not me, not this year. We have, what do you suggest for system engineers who code in C? Any future ahead? Thinking of moving up the stack. So this is so funny कि people who know full stack are like, I always feel the FOMO कि shit, I don't know enough about AI or like enough about low-level programming in C, C++. Oh, these people make so much money, and like, this is such a niche technology. And then seems like you have the ulta question: okay, I'm very good at C or low-level C. I can do system engineering pretty well. Should I move to full stack? Because it seems like everyone's making money in full stack, and that's a good question to ask. And I think the answer is there are good opportunities. Frankly, much more lucrative opportunities in the field that you're in. Maybe you're not connected to the right one, but there are a lot of companies who pay a lot of money for low-level systems programming, and they find it really hard to get engineers. So I would think because I don't think it's too difficult to do what you're asking, which is full stack. It is very difficult to do what you are already good at. So maybe make sure you've covered all avenues there before you make the final switch. That would be my only advice. All right. Oh wow, we're at 6:24 already. I wanted to finish by 6:30. Okay, let's see. I am doing arts from Sat Sri Akal Harkiyat. Paji, I am experienced in Java, Spring Boot. Should I now go into MERN for your new batch or learn system design and AWS architecture certifications? If you're already good at Spring Boot, I think it should be very easy for you to learn MERN stack wala full stack or something else. So I would suggest ke thoda एक बार to think again and become a senior engineer somewhere, and then if you want to move into this, you can. If you really want to do full stack, that's fine as well. Like you can, but again, I would think a little. What's the reason you're thinking of, taking this step? And if it's just कि हाँ उधर से ज़्यादा पैसा है, it might happen उधर भी पैसा ना हो, because there is need for good full stack engineers in Java, and there is good need for good full stack engineers in MERN. Now MERN, you could say कि हाँ there are more opportunities there, because a lot of companies use that because it's easier to do. I don't know if that's true or not, could be, but I would say that for any person who's any person who's in the same shoes as our friend here, before you switch, right, always make sure you've exhausted all avenues there, because again, it might feel like you moving to the other side will help, but a lot of times it doesn't help. Alrighty. Wow, like multitasking is really, really hard. 99% of remote jobs ask for visa. I doubt that. Then you're not looking at the right sort of job portal or like reaching the right companies. no one really asks for visa from what I know. In everywhere I've applied or thought of, they're very standard processes on how to get hired these days. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Which website are you looking at that's asking you for a visa? And if they are, that's not a remote job really. That's a remote job where the person needs to be in the US or something like that, which is again sorry. All right. Let's see. GSOC 24 video. Sure. I think that's a good idea. I think this is the right start. I mean, we're at the point where we should start doing that. I agree, sir. What job portals do you look at? So I'll go through all the job portals I've gone through till date. My first one, biggest one was TopTal. My second one was Upwork. These are the ones I've made money on. Then there's one called Gigster, where I used to go, used to find opportunities, got connected to clients sometimes as well. Never got a job. I don't know why. Who else? There's one called Freelancer, and then there's Fiverr. So in se kahin pe bhi I have not really made money, and then the only one I have made money on, I told you, which is TopTal and Upwork. But again, today, do people make money there? I don't know, and there's a good chance they don't, because market went crazy, and if there aren't enough opportunities on these portals, you won't sort of get hired. So yeah, just because I made money there doesn't mean you can make money here today. Just because I did not make money on Gigster, let's say, doesn't mean you cannot. But Gigster was a decent one back in the day. And then there is another one called kya naam hai iska? Brain Trust. This is the Web3 ka kuch to ajeeb sa hiring talent network. You get ownership. Pata nahi Flanda Maka, they have a token as well. So you can go through this as well. I am part of this network, but again, never got a job there. So you can try Brain Trust, very Web3 native specific. Even though they have Web2 jobs, the portal itself is very Web3 native. You get paid in money as well as tokens. So I find it weird as well, I know. But yeah, all right, I think I found the error. Okay. Whew, boy. How much can you make as a software engineer? Anywhere between 3 lakh per annum to maybe I don't know, number keeps on changing for the upper limit based on the market, but starts at 3 lakhs. In India, maybe can go up to 1 CR as well. But again, takes time, takes effort, and yeah, pretty much it. I've seen a bunch of videos. I end up doing JS&D, but what should be the path to get into it deeply? I mean, yeah, so that's the thing, right? So okay, look at this code. I think everything here should be straightforward to you if you've been doing JavaScript, but maybe this line isn't. So this is where, thoda heads begin to twist, okay, what is happening here. In my cohort as well, the first 2 classes were on this only. JavaScript was a prerequisite, which is like all the syntax here, even if you don't understand Canvas and like Canvas APIs, that's fine. But like all the syntax here, it's pretty straightforward, right? Hopefully for a few people. For those who isn't, like do this or like do the 30-day JavaScript challenge. But the question is like where people get stuck is either this, or if I, let's say, change this to something like this, I don't know, or even like this, then it starts to get a little weird. Okay, what is happening here? So this is TypeScript syntax. So wohi hai ki after you're at a point where you understand JavaScript very well is when you have to do asynchronous programming, and then 3 move to TypeScript, which is when you can say ki you've done enough for, or like at least scratch the surface for a remote job, or like generally building good projects, Flanda Maka. So before this, like you can go very deep into building a lot of projects purely in JavaScript, but I wouldn't recommend doing like more than 3-4 of them. But that was a good question, Ankit. Does background reality really matter to get a full stack job? What does background reality mean again? All right. I'm willing to take old course available now. It is, and in fact, thank you. अब थोड़ा हम plug करेंगे. Waiting कोई सवाल पूछ रहा है, ये लो. 20% discount currently, which ends today because of Independence Day. Apparently, this is a technique. So it is available, but again, we've gone through a bunch of classes already. So be very careful. Make sure you already, there's a video where I've explained everything. So make sure you understand at least this much by yourself. Okay, JavaScript you understand, and backend you understand, and React you understand. All these videos are available, but like it'll be very fast-paced course for you. If these 8 weeks you have to catch up. If you only have to catch up after the 4th week, which means TypeScript and monorepos, then it's fine. But if you don't know React at all, I wouldn't join right now. Alrighty. Next question. What roadmap would you suggest for a college fresher this year? So it keeps changing every year. Some year, so original advice always is कि हाँ do DSA. वो तो मतलब is very it's been spoken too many times now, so I won't say it. But like you need to do DSA structures and algorithms because that makes you very smart in programming. That's step 1. If you're already good at DSA, you've done it enough कि हाँ इससे ज़्यादा नहीं करनी भाई, जितनी करनी थी हो गई ज़िंदगी में, which means you don't want to go to like ICPC World Finals, things like these. You don't have goals like that. You simply like कि हाँ मेरे को bare minimum सीखनी है, and then after that point it's fine. I can I want to do something else. Okay, I don't know, do my own thing, yeah, get a job. Then either pick one of 3 fields: Web3, AI, full stack, and then go deep into that. Initially, do DSA, as much DSA as you can. After that, you can decide कि हाँ नहीं DSA नहीं, I want to go into, let's say, AI, then go deep into AI. AI में the path is कि maybe go for a master's PhD, because all good AI folks I've seen have gone into like to do at least master's, PhD, something like that. If you want to do Web3, then it is just about this very vague term called community. कि हाँ, build a lot of contacts and become active in the community, flan and hamaka. So that's the path for Web3. Full stack, it is build a lot of products, build products with the latest technologies. What is the latest technology, Harkirat? So after React, there is Next.js. Next.js maybe recently Next.js 13 came out. कि हाँ, there's a new version of Next.js that's sort of been making rounds now. So a lot of job opportunities will come. कि हाँ, move our project from Next to Next.js 13, the latest version, because a lot of things changed there. So full stack method, it's all a lot about doing and growing. AI में it is slightly theoretical. It is good to have theoretical knowledge. And then finally Web3 में unless you want to be if you want to be a smart contract engineer, then there also theoretical knowledge is heavily needed. If you don't want to be a smart contract engineer, then it's like full stack के बाद you can pick up Web3. I would choose one of these 3 paths after I am moderately comfortable with DSA, by which I mean you can solve lead code questions fairly well. All right, let's see. How to get exposure for tier 3 colleges? So IIT में you don't get exposure. You get like a campus placement, which is great, and exposure के नाम पे you get peers, which are great, but you don't get industry exposure as such, other than companies that are coming on campus, which anyways I don't talk much about on my sort of channel. So the best thing you can do as a tier 2, tier 3 college student, even though I hate this sort of term of tiers, but like let's say okay, you want to, if you're talking in that sense, so I would simply just get over this कि IIT में कुछ स्पेशल हो रहा है, ये चीज़ मतलब भूल जाओ, क्योंकि नहीं हो रहा है. इट्स जस्ट हाँ, पीपल देयर आर सीनियर चेन थोड़ी लंबी बनी रहती है कि हाँ सीनियर्स मचाऊ थे तो उनको आगे बता देते हैं कि ये कर लो, तो उनके बच्चे मचाऊ जाते हैं फलाना वहाँ का. बट अब इंटरनेट पे इतनी नॉलेज है कि यू कैन कीप लर्निंग एंड कीप एक्सप्लोरिंग एंड अब tier 2 tier 3 में ऐसा हो गया कि पीपल आर एटलीस्ट नॉलेजेबल, दे हैव इनफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट और सिमिलर कॉन्टेक्स्ट एज बिग कंपनीज डिड, एंड देन इवेंचुअली you shouldn't just think कि IIT में कुछ स्पेशल हो रहा है, क्योंकि अगर हो भी रहा है तो तुम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. बट जनरली आई कैन टेल यू कि कुछ नहीं हो रहा है ऐसा, कि हाँ कुछ स्पेशल नहीं सिखाया जा रहा है वहाँ जो तुम नहीं सीख सकते हो, बिकॉज इंटरनेट पे अब सारा कॉन्टेक्स्ट मिल जाता है. इन्फ्लुएंसर्स आर एवरीवेयर ऑन यूट्यूब टेलिंग यू कि ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है. तो बस वही चीज़ें करनी है, उसके बाद ट्राई टू डू दैट. ओके. According to you, how much percentage can you get as a remote job? 30K in open source. Is it much difficult than a conventional FAANG job? Okay, I think from what I can understand your question is where is the higher probability? FAANG job versus a 30K USD job by doing open source. I don't know if this is biased opinion, but in this market, I would say the remote job. In a bull run, it might be Google, Facebook, because Google, Facebook hire very aggressively then. Abhi, they are not hiring as aggressively. So it's very hard for you to get, the uncertainty goes away if you're doing very well in open source, because people want you then. Versus there is a lot of uncertainty if you're looking for a FAANG job right now. But in the bull run, there are recruiters everywhere, and your LinkedIn will be flooded with recruiter emails कि हाँ आओ join करो, interview करो. अभी because वो नहीं हो रहा है, then 30K fairly humble. If you're really good, frankly below market standards. But if you're the thing about remote jobs though is that people don't want good engineers. People want great engineers. So they will happily pay 100K to a great engineer. They might not pay 30K to a moderate engineer. So that is one thing you have to sort of ingrain in your head. People are not looking for mediocre engineers when hiring remotely, when hiring via open source. They're looking for really solid people, and then comp is not the right thing. So I think the better question here is, how difficult is it to get into FAANG today versus remote jobs? And there I would say today it's fairly equal. And if you're a good engineer, then it's easy to get into open source, because there are a lot of uncertainty. I wouldn't say politics, but like हाँ DSA, अब DSA में कौन सा सवाल पूछ लिया तो मैं आता था नहीं आता था फलाना का ये सब चीज़ें. तो based on that, I would say there is some uncertainty in there, but there is almost nil uncertainty if you're a good solid engineer and can showcase that on your GitHub profile. So those are my 2 cents. Do open source if you want to be a solid engineer. If your goal is I want to be a part-time software engineer, want to have a full-time job plus do a bunch of other things that want to have a life, I'm a comedian at night, then remote jobs might not be for you, because you have to be very on your feet all at all the time. And more than that, technologies keep changing. You have to evolve with them. You don't have to do that if you're in big tech. So you can chill and still do fairly well in your life. So that is the decision you should make. Do you want to be a software engineer and IC as time goes by, or do you want to be like an EM, or you're fine, you don't really love coding, that's where the money is, so you're doing it for that reason. So that is the call that you can take. All right. Cool. So quick वो कर लेते हैं एक summarization, because I've just completed this. What I wanted to build was Flappy Bird. I've built a very weird version of it. What I really wanted to show was acceleration, velocity, and how it can be translated to coding, because this is what fascinated me towards coding for the first time, because I knew physics from IIT, I did not know coding. So I sort of actually wrote will V equal to V plus AT, and position equal to position plus velocity into time, and then I actually saw this sort of exponentiate as it goes down. So that's how I learned to code. As you can see, it's not too much code, it's just 28 lines. And as I said before, this is the only line that will boggle your head a little. There are also advanced tasks, and this is on GitHub. I'll link it later on, that you can try to do. But just this basic game was my inflection point. So hopefully that is for a few of you. Try to build this game. There are prompts here, and you can ask ChatGPT to just tell it, a teacher gave me this assignment. Can you ask me what the teacher wants me to do? And then it will give you context. The teacher wants you to build a game, this is the way they want you to do. So ask a lot of questions and code yourself. Don't ask it for the code. You won't learn anything, all right? What kind of a question is that? Oh God, you got me, sir. Whoever answered that weird question. Okay. Okay, so let's do 5 minutes of questions, then we'll call it a night. Last time being a little annoying for everyone, 20% off if you want to do it. Independence Day sale, आना आ जाओ, wait करो, नहीं आना मत आओ, take your call. So I've been told to do this, so I'm doing this, but okay, moving on. Does having a experience matter in remote jobs? No one asks you for it, कि तुमने क्या किया है, तुम 18 साल के हो, नहीं तुम्हें नहीं देंगे job. Age, experience doesn't matter. तुम कर सकते हो ये चीज़, have you already showcased that matters. इसको छोड़ के कुछ मैटर नहीं करता. ये सब पूछना मत कर दो भाई ये सवाल. Experience doesn't matter, college doesn't matter, did you have a gap does not matter, are you in school, college does not matter, आई नो 14-year-olds who are working in Web3 and even conventional companies. ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ Web3 में ये twisted चीज़ होती है. It happens in conventional companies as well. No one really, these are very minuscule factors. If you're a really good engineer or if you're a really bad engineer, that's what will decide whether or not you get in. This will contribute less than 1% कि हाँ अच्छा ये इंडिया से है तो चलो इसको नहीं लेते, इसका टाइम जोन का इशू होगा. That happens very minusculely. This question might sound silly. No question is silly, sir. Tanmay Veti. Oh, sorry. This question might sound silly, but is it possible to become really good at web development in 3 to 6 months? Definition of very good is different. Speed that everyone has is different. I think coding generally requires marination. So you can get context on everything that's needed in web development in 3 to 6 months. Can you become a really good engineer? Depends on how much you practice. If you're doing it 40 hours a week, then yes. If you're doing it 10 hours a week, then maybe no. So it really depends on how many hours you are putting in. I think there's probably an hour number out there. If you do full stack development the right way, which means not doing CSS for 6 months, but like little bit CSS, little bit HTML, then diving deeper into good projects, moving to TypeScript really quickly, doing open source contributions, looking at projects, Next.js, React, Flutter, moving really quickly, then 6 months is good enough. Maybe not to become the best engineer, but like pretty good. And then after that, it should just practice. But this was a really good question. And this was not a silly question. This is actually one of the best questions from today. So kudos to you, Tane. Agar tum course mein hote, you would have gotten a bounty for this question. Where is the link of the course? It is somewhere on the website. This is the code. harkirat.classx.co.in. Hi, could you make a detailed video on Microsoft No man, please, sorry. मुझे नहीं समझ आती है Microsoft Google के programs. I don't know. They could be a fad. They could be good. I have never contributed to them, so I don't. Probably doesn't make sense for me to make video on it. It's probably just another project that attracts open source, just like GSOC. I don't know. Cool. Should I start applying to the cohort knowledge or anything more required? Just look at the latest video on the channel that has like everything. So go to my YouTube channel and then वहाँ जाके you will see the latest video where I've explained the curriculum क्या हो गया है क्या नहीं हुआ है किसको आना चाहिए किसको नहीं आना चाहिए. It's a very detailed video. Should answer all your questions. Is it necessary to learn full stack to do Web3? So a lot of people ask this question. The short answer is it's good. Don't dive directly into Web3 unless see if you're a prodigy you do whatever you want. If you're अभी मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है I'm trying to learn, let's see उस वाले phase में हो तो कर लो पहले full stack. If you want to listen to someone and code, then do full stack, then Web3. If you're a prodigy, do whatever you want. All right. Good with development but bad with debugging. What to do? I think development is about debugging. That's all that development is about. So if you're not good at debugging, so for example today you might have seen me struggle through a few APIs कि अच्छा ये कहाँ call होता है वो कहाँ call होता है. Initially the script tag was above this thing. If you're not good at debugging, by which I mean you get frustrated while debugging code, then this might not be the field for you because that is what you do on a day-to-day basis. Everyone knows the same coding. It's just then you are building a project and then वहाँ तुमने कुछ उल्टी चीज़ कर दी ऐसी and then you're like what the fuck is happening. So you have to ingrain this being your lifestyle for a really long time now. By this I mean debugging all day and debugging these silly things कि हाँ now I've been coding for 5 years yet I made a silly mistake of this tag being above this tag and then whatever happened in the initial bit of the class and then I totally forget APIs. I don't know what was the function to call to create a rectangle, things like these. So this is what software development is. Of course it's not this dumb after a point. You don't build simple projects like this one, but it's a lot of Googling, it's a lot of debugging. So you have to not get good at it because there's no one. If you have to debug, that means everyone has to debug, so don't feel like you're a bad person or like you're not good at coding if you have to debug, but that is something you should enjoy, and then you should join, like think of becoming a software developer. After joining the cohort and doing what you tell to do and practicing an open source for 6 months, what are the probability of getting a job? Purely depends on the market, the opportunities that exist, whether or not there is a bull run, whether or not you are at the right place at the right time. The thing about remote jobs is like, okay, very good question कि हाँ cohort हो गया, अब probability, give me a number. I don't have a number, but it should be at a stage कि you're not asking this question. You're simply being like कि हाँ मेरी लग जाएगी, मुझे इतना तो आता है, चलो 100 की नहीं लगेगी 50 की तो लगी जाएगी. इतना कॉन्फिडेंस तो मेरे में हो जाए कि हाँ इतने प्रोडक्ट्स तो मैं बना पा रहा हूँ एंड ये सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर भी तो इसको भी तो इतना ही आता है. एंड इफ ही इज समवेयर एट सम पॉइंट either I will undercut him, the market will कंसोलिडेट, कंपनीज विल वट एवर डू कॉस्ट कटिंग और वट एवर. तो हाँ, मुझे अब इतनी स्किल आती है. एक जो दूसरा बंदा है जिसका 100K का ऑफर है, इतनी स्किल तो मुझे आ गई. अब इसके बाद थोड़ा लक हो जाता है कि हाँ, और वो हर जगह हो जाता है, यहाँ पे भी नहीं. ऑफकोर्स हर बंदा जो फैंग में जा रहा है, और मान लो एक बंदा है जो नहीं जा रहा है, डजेंट मीन कि जो बंदा फैंग में नहीं जा रहा है ही इज़ नॉट गुड. बस थोड़ा लक फैंड मगर दुनिया भर के फैक्टर्स. तो प्रोबेबिलिटी नंबर देना इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट, और इवन दो दैट वुड बी ग्रेट इफ आई गॉट दैट नंबर एवर. आई एम हैप्पी टू डू अ पोल आफ्टर 6 मंथ्स. किसकी लगी, कितनी लगी और कहाँ लगी, और मेरी वजह से लगी कि मेरे बिना लगी. बट इट्स लाइक a thing you should never commit to when you're joining a course, and never something you should join a course for. Okay, acha, you are doing a course. Okay, what is the cost? X. Okay, I will do this very diligently for 6 months. Give me a number कि हाँ, what is the probability, उस हिसाब से I'll try to be there in the batch. Very hard to commit for anyone, and bunch of factors that come before you know कि हाँ तुम्हारी लगेगी कि नहीं लगेगी. तो इस बैच में से a lot of people who might not have followed anything might get jobs. Someone who's been following for a really long time, doing really well, might not get a job. तो I wouldn't call it luck, but like हाँ, being at the right place at the right time वाला factor आ जाता है in every job, not just like remote jobs or open source. But if you're really good, which means कि हाँ you're in the top 1% of the batch, then you should be fine, is what I feel. Alrighty. Django versus MERN. Biased opinion is MERN. मैंने Django बहुत कम करी थी पहले, but I know a few companies that use it, so that's also pretty good. Building an app where one can go from base URL/room name and creating a room using a password, then you can create documents in real time inside it, and this is pretty good. It's like Google Docs, right? Pretty good. I like it. This is an idea I sort of provided in my videos, one of my videos as well recently. Okay, I joined a US-based company at 4.5 LPA as a fresher, as a Flutter developer. It's a small company, remote. No benefits like PF, etc. Is it worth staying for a few years? So that's the thing. If you are literally being paid 4.5 LPA in a company that's in the US, 4.5 LPA is $5,000 for them for a year. It's minusculely low. If you become a very important part of that machine, the journey from 4.5 LPA to 45 LPA should be fairly straightforward. So I was also undercut in my this remote job, and my undercut arguably wasn't that bad, but like it was still like $70,000 होने दिए मुझे. And then $70,000 to 100K was like 3 महीने में मैं इतना इंटेग्रल पार्ट बन गया था उस कंपनी का कि हाँ लाइक हाँ ले लो. यू आर दैट ऑन स्टेरॉइड्स. यू आर लाइक 4.5 LPA विच इज लाइक $5,000. वो भी जो कंपनी यूएस में, ये भी नहीं कि इंडिया में. अगर इंडिया में तो चलो फिर भी मान लूँ कि दिल अंडर घटी वट एवर. यूएस का जो कंपनी है उसके लिए 4.5 LPA फॉर अ पर्सन इन द यूएस इज नथिंग. कंपनी तो भूल ही जाओ. तो वेरी ईजी पाथ फॉर यू टू गो फ्रॉम हियर टू देयर. जस्ट टेक केयर ऑफ 2 things. 1, बिकम अ वेरी इंटेग्रल पार्ट ऑफ द कंपनी, स्टार्ट हैंडलिंग एवरीथिंग. अगर तुम जाओ तो उनको पिंच होना चाहिए और फिर चले जाना. अगर तुम्हें हो कि नहीं मुझे 20 लाख दो वरना मैं चला जाऊँगा, चले जाना. बट बी वेरी इंटेग्रल पार्ट ऑफ दैट कंपनी. 1 कि उनको अगर तुम 20 लाख मांगो, 20 लाख भी उनको पिंच नहीं करेगा, क्योंकि भाई यूएस की कंपनी है. यूएस में तो 20 लाख इज नॉट इवन $25,000 साल का, तो वो कुछ भी नहीं है. वो दे देंगे आराम से. बट अगर तुम मीडियोकर एम्प्लॉय हो तो वो बोलेंगे अरे लो अपनी स्टैंडर्ड 10% होता है, इन्फ्लेशन बीट करो. बट इफ यू कम रियली इंटेग्रल एंड यू बी लाइक कि मुझे तो भाई $25,000 तो मिल जाएंगे, इतना दे दो, seems like a very easy decision for them. But yeah, you have to become an integral part of the company. All right, let's do 10 more minutes, then we'll call it at 7. Are remote jobs a bubble? I don't know. I think tech, they follow the same pattern as tech. Tech is going down, public market stocks are going down, jobs generally are going down, remote jobs will go down. Same for the upper wali direction. There is one thing that's constant in remote jobs. So there is always a base of people who will remain in remote jobs irrespective of the market. And that's because there are very good software engineers, there are very good Web3 engineers who are in India and want to stay in India, and companies will want them. तो उनके लिए तो ऐसा होगा कि there will always be a market. But हाँ, इसको छोड़ के जो mediocre lot है या upper mediocre lot है, they will go up and down with the market. I have graduated, no decent web development, but very less experience in DSA. What should I go next? DSA with JS is good idea. So in remote jobs, DSA in JS is fine, but DSA is very good. The reason is, so my TopTal interview, this is public information, TopTal has an algorithmic round and it's a pretty solid algorithmic round. तो ऐसा ना हो कि your life has a very good opportunity, you are the right person for that job, सब कुछ सही बैठ रहा है, बट उन्होंने DSA इंटरव्यू कर लिया और तुम वहाँ नहीं हो पाया तुम्हारा. तो why leave that bit to chance, है ना. तो जब इतना सब कुछ कर ही रहे हो तो कर लो यार 2 लीड कोड प्रॉब्लम दिन की, जब तक पहली नौकरी नहीं लगती. आफ्टर योर फर्स्ट जॉब पीपल डोंट रियली आस्क यू दिस. फॉर सीनियर इंजीनियर्स नो वन इन रिमोट जॉब्स आस्क्स फॉर DSA. इन FAANG दे डू, बट इन रिमोट जॉब्स दे डोंट. तो उसके बाद डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. बट इफ़ यूर जस्ट स्टार्टिंग आउट, फर्स्ट टाइम गेटिंग टू रिमोट जॉब्स, ऐसा ना हो कि एक इंटरव्यू ऐसा आ जाए जहाँ DSA फक्स यू ओवर कि हाँ यू नो एवरीथिंग, यू आर द परफेक्ट फिट, बट DSA केम एंड देन वो तुम्हें नहीं आता. जावास्क्रिप्ट इज फाइन दो, बिकॉज आई हैव सीन ऑल दीज कंपनीज दे डोंट इवन सूडो कोड इफ यू राइट इट्स फाइन. शुड आई प्रिपेयर फॉर गेट का मुझे आइडिया नहीं है, वरना मैं बता देता. शुड आई क्विट माई जॉब बिकॉज आई डोंट लाइक माई जॉब बिकॉज ऑफ C# और स्विच टू वेब डेवलपमेंट. तो यार मत करो ना यार, जॉब के साथ कर लो. एक चीज़ होती है क्विटिंग वो कर लो कि मतलब डोंट क्विट बट लाइक डू द बेयर मिनिमम एंड बाकी का टाइम फोकस ऑन लर्निंग. द थिंग अबाउट इफ यू लीव योर जॉब वुड बी कि यू हैव टू मच प्रेशर फॉर दैट नेक्स्ट जॉब. मत करो ये, मतलब मैं सबको मना करता हूँ जो भी मुझसे पूछता है. अनलेस इट्स योर सैलरी इज अबिस्मली लोगे, तुम्हें फर्क नहीं पड़ता उस चीज़ से, देन डू इट. बट इफ इट्स गुड लाइक 5 LPA ऑल्सो, लाइक 10 LPA, वाई इवन लीव दैट क्वेश्चन, बिकॉज योर यूज दैट मनी टू डू अदर थिंग्स. डोंट आउटसोर्स योर जॉब बट लाइक मे बी आउटसोर्स अदर थिंग्स in your life कि हाँ खाना बनाना आउटसोर्स कर दो, ये आउटसोर्स कर दो. एंड द टाइम दैट यू गेन फ्रॉम दैट मनी यूज़ दैट टाइम टू अपस्किल. बट डोंट लीव. वो एकदम से ऐसा होता है कि तुमने जॉब भी छोड़ दी और फिर मोटिवेशन टू लर्न भी डाउन हो जाती है. इफ़ यू डू टू मैनी थिंग्स एट द सेम टाइम यू डू ऑल दीज थिंग्स वेरी वेल. अगर तुम सब छोड़ के एक चीज़ पे लग जाते हो ना, वो तुम्हें बोर करती है एंड आफ्टर अ पॉइंट यू लाइक मतलब काश वही कर लेते, एंड प्लस योर मंथली कैश फ्लो विल स्टॉप. तो आई वुडंट टेक दैट बेट. मैं सबको मना करता हूँ जो भी मुझसे पूछता है ना कि नौकरी छोड़ के स्टार्ट कर लूँ, तो मैं बोलता हूँ कि भाई कर लो ना साथ में. एट सम पॉइंट यूल रियलाइज कि अब लग जाएगी मेरी नौकरी. एट दैट पॉइंट यू लीव योर जॉब. प्रेफरेबली पिक अनदर वन देन लीव योर जॉब. ऑल राइटी. कैन यू मेक अ वीडियो अबाउट Git and GitHub? There are 10 videos out there. I can, but like there are videos. Sub explained as nothing new I can teach there. But if too many people ask, sure I'm happy to. How much JavaScript is required for TypeScript? Not too much. But a base of, you should understand everything. You should understand asynchronous programming as well, which means you should understand this line as well, and then all the basic syntax, and then you can move to basic TypeScript. TypeScript can go very advanced, so if you don't want to go there, just very basic types you want to fiddle with. If you know basic JavaScript, you can transition. All right, 7 more minutes, and then we will call it. Bro, is WebD danger in future? There is a video I made. Web development is dead. ऐसे थंबनेल के साथ you can look at that. I talk about a few things which I think are going to be true in a few years. How would someone differentiate me from a great engineer? Or like I think the general question is what is the difference between good and great? अब ये तो मैंने बहुत बार देख लिया. So the companies I work for hire for greatness. ये तो हमारे यहाँ है ही कि we will not hire 10, or like generally in open source in big companies I've seen, they will not hire 10 engineers who are average. They would want one engineer that's really good. What is the distinction? I'll tell you the interview process. Interview process is कि चलो DSA को तो हटा दो. Interview process is what is the need of the hour in this company right now. हमें किस चीज़ की सख्त कमी है? Mobile let's say, या फिर I don't know DevOps deployment कि deployment का बंदा नहीं मिल रहा, कुछ बहुत हो गया, प्रेशर हो गया, एकदम से DevOps का लेफ्ट, या फिर suddenly there's need of very good big deployments, we have to move our infrastructure फलाना का, we need a very good DevOps guy. We want the best DevOps guy in the world, and money is not an option. Of course, there is some limit to how much money we can give, but like for India, that's too much money. 100K, 200K, 100K, 120K, 150K, तो a company in the US can give. तो money is not an option. Greatness is the वो कि हमें बंदा ग्रेट होना चाहिए. तो व्हाट इज़ दिस ग्रेट, ये ग्रेटनेस होता क्या है? तो इंटरव्यू प्रोसेस में ऐसा होता है कि पहले तो तुम अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स दिखाओ, नॉट हॉस्पिटल मैनेजमेंट प्रोजेक्ट, नॉट कॉलेज में कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क का कुछ बनाया था, रियल प्रोजेक्ट्स जो ऑलमोस्ट वो चीज़ करते हैं जो तुम यहाँ के करने वाले हो, विच मीन्स लेट्स से यू आर गेटिंग हायर्ड बाय फॉर डिप्लॉयमेंट, एंड डिप्लॉयमेंट में भी हमें चाहिए कि हमें अपना पूरा स्टैक, वी वांट टू मूव टू क्यूबरनेटिस, शो मी projects, or don't have to be open source. If they're open source, even better. But if they're not open source, tell me which job you worked in before this, and then what was your role there, and kitna this you did there. How much Kubernetes you used there, and how did you tackle a few problems. तो वो बहुत हाई रहता है इंटरव्यू. वो उसी बंदे का अच्छा होगा जिसने ये चीज़ 10 बार करी हुई है, एंड यू नो ही इज़ गॉन थ्रू द स्टैंडर्ड हूप्स दैट कम व्हेन यू आर डूइंग अ डेवऑप्स जॉब. तो द क्राइटेरिया इज़ कि तुमने ये कितनी बार किया है, कहाँ किया है, किस स्केल पे किया है, अच्छा बोल रहे हो किया है, करके दिखाओ. तो दे यू हैव लाइक अ स्मॉल पीरियड ऑफ करके दिखाओ, शो अस, डू इट इन आवर स्टैक, एंड देन इट्स विद इन 15 days यू नो वेदर नॉट द पर्सन इज गुड और नॉट. तो That is how good and great are differentiated. I've seen. Okay, how many times have you done it? Do you have enough context? Do you know this more than me? Basically, the person who's hiring is like usually the CEO or CTO. Do you know this more than me? I don't want to think about this after you're hired. After you're hired as a DevOps engineer, मुझे DevOps में पढ़ना नहीं है, तो मैं इसको end to end own करना है. So do you have enough context for that? That are the kind of questions that are asked. You should be able to have 100% ownership of front end, back end, DevOps. That is what differentiates good from Gate. You shouldn't ask questions. You should ask very high level questions. Is this architecture right? Is it okay? Then go implement it. That's all. इसको छोड़ के कोई ये बता दो वो बता दो वाले सवाल नहीं पूछ सकते तुम. That's great versus good. Very good question. अगर तुम कोर्स में होते तुम्हें मिलती बाउंटी. Alrighty. I am familiarizing yourself with Linux command important. Is familiarizing concept not needed? बट दीज आर थिंग्स जो बेर मिनिमम सभी करते हैं. मतलब सभी कर रहे हैं, सब गुड इंजीनियर्स करते हैं, सब करते हैं तो कुछ अच्छा ही होगा ना. सो ऑल दीज क्वेश्चंस ऑफ के अरे डू यू नीड टू मूव फ्रॉम विंडोज टू लिनक्स? नो, बट सब अच्छे लोग करते हैं तो कुछ तो होगा ना वहाँ. सिमिलरली डू यू नीड टू नो बैश? All good people do it, so there's probably some reason for it, and the reasons I've explained in a video, but like they're very hard to tell कि हाँ करो तो अच्छा होगा. मतलब जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल द रीजन फॉर बैश इज कि यू शुड बी वेरी कंफर्टेबल विद कमांड्स मेक यू फास्टर. ना यू कुड आर्ग्यू नहीं मैं तो विंडोज पे बहुत कंफर्टेबल हूँ, बट एज टाइम गोज बाय यू विल रियलाइज कमांड्स मेक यू फास्टर प्लान धमाका. तो ऑल दीज अपहिल बैटल्स दैट कम थ्रू इन योर जर्नी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मूविंग फ्रॉम अ GUI एडिटर लाइक VS कोड इनटू टर्मिनल में सब करेंगे हम. फील्स दूर से कि क्या ज़रूरत है. आई एम मच फास्टर इन VS कोड राइट नाउ, वाई शुड आई मूव टू अ टर्मिनल? वो तो मुझे स्लो करेगा, इतनी चीज़ें नहीं सीखनी पड़ेंगी. बट अगेन ऑल सीनियर इंजीनियर्स डू इट, सो देयर इज अ रीजन फॉर इट, एंड देयर इज ऑलवेज अ वीडियो दैट विल टेल यू थ्योरेटिकली व्हाई इट्स बेटर, बट यू कांट सी दैट राइट नाउ बिकॉज यू आर स्ट्रगलिंग टू इंस्टॉल nvim ऑन योर मशीन. यू लाइक अरे नहीं मुझसे नहीं हो रहा, VS कोड है तो छोड़ो. तो वही है, दीज आर थिंग्स यू शुड डू. कैन यू सर्वाइव विदाउट देम? येस, बट डू ऑल ग्रेट पीपल डू इट? येस, तो मे बी डू इट, है ना. ऑलराइटी. I have 1 year experience. I'm in a product startup. I have 14 LPA salary. After that, I couldn't code for years. How do I approach this? You have 14 LPA salary. I'm assuming then as a non-developer, if you've not coded for a while. So, yeah, if you're a non-developer, you might have to take a salary cut initially. I think it's worth it. कि हाँ तुम्हें 14 की जगह 10 लाख भी मिल रहा है, but you're getting to code finally. I think it's worth it. Everyone's situation is different, so please decide, pick and choose. But I would now try to go to a company where you can actually code on a day-to-day basis if you're not doing that right now, even though you're making 14, because you might have to go down, but your acceleration will be really high if you're coding versus if you're in product, it might plateau at some point. Alrighty. No, I don't want to spend debugging 2 days on my Windows machine installing Java when I can do exactly right. Good sir, Raju Sharma ji. I like it. We're almost there. 59 guys, 6:59. So going to call it now. Last call for the course if you guys want to join. If not, all good. Happy Independence Day to everyone. Another downside of remote jobs, Independence Day, but छुट्टी नहीं होती. मैं तो ले ली थी खैर. But like no one knows there क्या Independence Day India का. You have to tell क्या Independence Day है. So yeah, that was my day today. But thank you for joining, and let's try to do more of these lives. Did you like this pattern of me coding and doing answers? Was I able to multitask, or was it like really bad? Should I just do one thing? Yeah, but it was like, okay, it's fine. Happy Independence Day to you. When next cohort? In my current guess is 2 months. Might be more, but 2 months. Okay, this pattern was good. किसी ने जवाब नहीं दिया, या फिर there is latency. Either way, oh love this. Okay, cool. We'll do more of this then. I like to code. थोड़ा कुछ सिंपल से मैं भी कर लूँगा, थोड़ा सा तुम कुछ भी सीख लोगे. Plus I want कि कुछ तो मैं भी करूँ, वरना मैं बातें करते थक जाता हूँ यार. तो I'll code a little and then we'll talk and we can do more of these. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Happy Independence Day to everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next one.